Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Modern Customer Podcast. Today is our 400th episode. This has been such a labor of love, and I've really met the coolest, most interesting, customer focused leaders from all over the world doing this podcast, The Modern Customer. Thank you for all your support so I can continue to create content and do this fantastic job. If you know anyone who has a compelling customer focused story, a customer experience story that needs to be told, please send them my way. And thanks for watching. Today, our guest is Henrik Werdelin. He is the co-founder of Bark, known by BarkBox, also now BarkAir. They have over 600 employees. He's the founding partner of Prehype, a venture studio that have made several successful startups. He's had an AI podcast since 2019 called Beyond the Prompt. Today, we are talking a lot about AI. We're talking about how to think about AI for yourself as an individual and how to bring AI inside your company. Henrik has some groundbreaking ideas for leaders and CEOs on how to change their thinking about the future of customer experience as technology continues to evolve at an increasingly faster clip. Please enjoy Henrik Werdelin. Henrik, welcome. How's it going today?
Good. Thanks for having me back on.
I'm so glad that we're both here today. You are a repeat guest, and I was just chatting with you before we started that I share your story all over the world of do things that don't scale in business. So anyway, we have so much to talk about. Um, Tell us what you've been up to since Bark.
Well, I'm still involved in Bark, and so I guess the latest that we've done in the Bark side, which is kind of fun, is we started an airline for dogs, and so
Wait,
um,
what?
we have started 100% totally real airline for dogs.
Can I get a seat, please?
We fly LA, London, LA, Paris. We fly New York, London, New York, LA. We fly.
Oh my
Um,
God.
I mean, like, only if you want the best for your pooch. No, in most serious note, like we've always been big on trying to create experiences for dogs and their people. And one of the problems that we'd never been able to see anybody else solve was flying and traveling with your dog. And so, yeah, like most of us, feel feel quite bad about putting our dog in a crate. And so, we started in first class airlines to start with, and we hope that we can make it kind of more and more cheaper so that we can get more and more people to go travel with their dogs.
I mean, that's amazing. I had no idea. I mean, is this like in operation now?
Fully operational. Like you should, if you search for Bark Air, there's a few videos out there that you'll enjoy. Yeah, we got quite a lot of attention when we launched it because I think most people like you were like, "Is this for real?" But yeah,
Oh,
it's 100% real airline.
that is amazing. Can I just ask, like, can you just paint the picture? Like, are the dogs in seatbelts or what does that look like?
I mean, like, for a dog, this is as first class as it get, and so, like, when you sign up for a ticket, we will call you, and we will start to understand everything about your dog from, does it like to drive in the car on the way to the airport with their windows up or the windows down? What kind of music does it enjoy listening to? What kind of food? Does it have any dietary requirements so that we can make sure the menu on the plane is optimized for it? We have doggy champagne that is made of chicken broth. There's the spa treatment on the plane. There's everything. There's a in-flight squirrel TV channel. There's
Oh
everything that you can think of.
God. Okay. I like honestly, my mind is blown right now. I can't even continue this podcast. I feel like I need a minute. And my dog is sitting here with me. Should I show you my dog really quick? Can I do that?
Absolutely.
I have 2 dogs. One of them is a little crazier than the other one, and the crazy one's with me. Come here, Blenny. And she growls when she's happy. Let's see.
Oh, who's that?
This is Blenny, like Blinchik, like a Russian pancake. Blenny.
Wow.
Blenny, say hi.
Hey.
Yeah, Decided to adopt a rescue dog, a second one, when I was pregnant, and she ended up being really anxious, and so that was interesting. Most people where I live, they have labs, they have, like, the nice dogs, the, like, child-friendly dogs, and I have the, like, Yorkie mutt, the mix is the crazies, but I would never
Good
give a
for
dog back.
good for you. I mean, like,
Yeah.
my dog is quite crazy too. She's from Mobile, Alabama, and, have kind of forgotten her humble beginnings. Now she's used to all the organic treats.
Yeah, I'm sure she's treated very well, first class air and, organic food. But anyway, okay, my audience is like, "All right, Blake, give me some value." Okay. So, I do wanna start like, the story of Bark is a great customer experience story. It's like a return. It's interesting to me that you're very focused on AI now because Bark, like so much of what you stand for, is personalization. Do things that don't scale. It's all about relationships. It's all about individual experiences. So, can you just talk about like how we can marry that one to one white glove customer experience with okay, now we have AI, we have all these technologies. Like, what's the right approach for both?
Yeah, I think it's super interesting. I think you're right. Everything that I've ever done have always been based on what I kind of roughly think about as relationship capital. And relationship capital in my eye is becoming incredibly important because as AI is democratizing products and services, we need to figure out where can we add real value. And for me, the real value is in the last mile, the relationship between the founder and the customer, what I normally think about as customer founder fit. And so, what I hope AI can do for people who listen to this podcast is two things. One is to serve their customers much more better in a much more, I'd say, like intimate way, but also allow many more people to become entrepreneurs because it used to be incredibly difficult to kind of get going. And now, of course, with generative AI, it's much easier to get that idea out of your head and onto the web.
So, one of the things I wanted to ask you about today, since you are founder CEO, is more big picture. So, people always ask me about metrics and transformation. It's like, as a leader, how do you think about measurement? How do you think about success? Do we need to change the way we think about these things in order to transform our companies? So, I mean, I'm sure you meet with a lot of other CEOs where you have something to share about how you think about success metrics. Because all the things you've done, you've had success, but you've had to probably have a very different view on metrics, on what success looks like every day.
Yeah, I think it's a basic. I mean, like the three metrics that I normally care mostly about is CAC, LTV, and NPS. I think, like if you have those three, you kind of like have the core vitals of a lot of businesses, right? How much does it cost to acquire a customer? How much can you make of that customer? And how much would they recommend your product to somebody else? And so I think if those three are kind of like in check, then you're often in a good place. I think what's going to be complicated is there's a bunch of new metrics that I think that we are going to look for that we don't necessarily have good measurement for, which is about originality, like how good are we of coming up with things that are not so ordinary that your classic GPT can just do the same. And also, how do we measure how well our relationship is with our customers? Because obviously, you can have a subscription business like a mobile phone carrier that has like a recurring relationship, but they don't really have a relationship. It's not that you really care about them. And so I think about two metrics normally. One is how engaged are they with you? So not necessarily how much do you talk to them, but how much they talk back. And do you have, for example, when you post something on your social channel, do you feel that people are actually saying something back or sharing it with somebody because that it resonates with them? And the second thing is how much do you represent as a brand something that people would like to stand for? Do they feel like you're representing the values that they also have? And so I think we'll start to see new metrics that we'll have to kind of figure out how we compute as we go into this AI world.
I was recently watching a clip of your podcast where you're interviewing a professor and AI expert. And he was saying that no one really knows what they're doing with AI. It's just a very uncertain time. I mean, since you are an AI expert and you're talking and thinking about these things every day, what do you think people need to know about AI and trying to bring it into the business to do wonders for their business?
Well, I think you're referring to Ethan Mollick, who's the professor at Wharton, who is,
Yeah.
I think, one of the best thinkers in this space right now. And he was talking about how he's one of the best expert, but only he is like 2 months ahead. And so on the podcast Beyond the Prom, we were kind of riffing about this thing that it's actually pretty democratized. The models, the most advanced models, are not hidden in labs. They're available on chatgpt.com or on Claude.ai and stuff like that. I mean, like, I definitely drank the Kool-Aid, and I believe that this is a transformative technology that all organizations will have to kind of figure out how to benefit from. And I think the probably biggest thing for any leader is that they have to start to use it because the technology changes so much. But also, it's kind of alien technology that we don't really know how to use yet. And so you have to use it yourself quite a lot to figure out kind of how does this fit into your organization.
Right. Um, I mean, is that something that you're doing? Like, how would you even begin to do that? Like, let's say for employees or for customers.
Well, I think it starts with yourself. I mean, like, I'm probably 40% more effective now than I were 2 years ago. And I use it for pretty much everything. Like my co-host Jeremy Otley, who's a professor at Stanford, he has like a post-it note on his computer where it says, "Have you tried GPT?" And it's kind of like a nice little reminder for him that he really can use for everything. I mean, like, I use it to role play conversations with my board. I use it to just brainstorm different ideas. I use it to visualize different kind of concepts that I have in my mind to the design team. I use it to just get that idea out of my mind when I'm walking the dog by simply talking to the GPT app and have it writing up a memo. I have used it to add context to my contacts. So when you email me, I can just label you as new contact and automatically fills it out and writes like a description of how we met each other so I can find you later. I use it for pretty much every task that I have. And so for me, it starts there. Because I think as you start to use it, you can get your organization to feel comfortable with it also. And then you can look at how it works in your product and how it works in the processes. And there's different kind of methodologies you use. But I think the first thing is just to kind of download the app to the phone and kind of start to use it a little bit more. Replace maybe Google with Perplexity, which is a foundational model, and then kind of like just get it into your daily life.
Did that take a little bit of work, like mentally, having to remember to use it, like on your walk with your dog?
Absolutely. I mean, like, I think one of the thing about AI is that everybody is scared to admit that they're not really using it. I think we talk a lot about it, but if you ask most people at a dinner party, do you have Claude or GPT or Perplexity on your phone? Most of them will say no. And so we have this new technology that is really developing at light speed. And then I think you have a lot of us that haven't really figured out how to work it into a workflow yet. And so it was very complicated for me. I was lucky to get access to it in 2019. So I've had a few years where to practice. But I think the organizations that I'm involved with, a lot of people in the organization, some of them are scared because they're worried that it will take over their jobs. Some of them are angry with it because that it feels that it's built on technology that has kind of been trained on other people's work. Some of them are using it a lot, but don't really feel they want to tell anybody they're using it because they don't want to get basically caught in being able to do their work at half the time. And I think a lot of people are not using it because they are worried that the company is not allowing them to do it. They're worried that somebody will fire them if they suddenly figure out that they've taken their marketing copy for next week and put it into these models. And so I think it's the fascinating thing with AI right now for me is that it's teaching us a lot about being people. It's teaching a lot about humanity and what we're worried about and what part of our organizations understand our kind of like the senior management's kind of vision of where they want to go.
So you mentioned that people and employees are afraid they're going to lose their jobs. for customer service, I just put out a thing on Forbes about this. Like, it seems to be the consensus is yes, AI is going to completely disrupt customer service. It's just a matter of when. So, I mean, honestly, like, will AI take these jobs? And do you honestly think leaders will repurpose or redeploy these employees somewhere else to add value to people's lives?
I mean, like, I don't know how the future is going to play out. I can tell you how I think about it. I think that the most important thing for us at Bark, for example, is our customers and our relationship with them. And I would much rather find a way of using what we call the happy teams time to figure out how they can personalize our products and how they can make sure that all the different elements that are not optimal with our experience can become optimal. Then I want them to sit and change passwords or figure out where a box is missing, or a lot of things that I think AI will do much better. And so, you know, I think you'll definitely have a lot of people who don't really care much about their job, that providing a mediocre kind of work output, they will find that AI will be able to do their jobs. Now, we were worried about that when we invented ATMs, and everybody was up in arms about how there'll be no bank personnel. And the reality is
Right.
that we have more people that, we were worried about this when I'm not sure that you go to McDonald's, but at McDonald's you can like pay, you can order on these kiosks, these screens, and people were worried about people getting fired because of them. And the reality is that we now have more people hired in the McDonald's restaurants than we had before those screens. And so I don't know. I think AI is a little bit kind of like your view of the future is a little bit mirrored on your view on life. I am I would say conservative optimist. I believe that in the best of people, and I believe that we have seen technology improve our lives over the last 100 years, and I think AI will do the same. So, do I think some people will be misplaced and made redundant because AI could do their job? Absolutely. Do I think that we'll get new, interesting jobs that we haven't thought about yet because of AI that people can take instead? I think that too.
Why do you think there is this shame around people being honest about using ChatGPT, and they're trying to hide it a bit?
I think it's a good question. I mean, like, I definitely think that a lot of companies have not been very good at being vocal about what their position is. Like, very
Yeah.
few companies have, a manifesto saying we believe that you can use AI for this, but you can definitely not use it for that. That just document doesn't exist. I think in the early days, a lot of companies outsource their precision of these things to the tech team and the legal team. And I think those two teams in specific are compensated to make sure that you're safe rather than you're experimental or you're kind of like trying to push the envelope of new technology. And so I think they did their job, and they said to people, like, you can't use it, and I'm sure most companies had email go out uh, that said that you can't use it. In fact, Ethan Malik, as we talked about him, he told me about this case where this head of legal from a big company had to draft an email to send to the whole company saying that they couldn't use AI, and she used ChatGPT to write that email. So I think there's a little bit of just fumbling in the beginning. And then I think you have, I think this thing that some people feel that they should know more about it. And maybe they tried it 6 months ago and they put their names into ChatGPT and it hallucinated. And they're like, oh, this doesn't work. Or they wrote, write me a brilliant marketing campaign, and it gave you something kind of ordinary back. And they were like, well, this can't do my job. And so they are failing to see both that, like with everything with computers, if you give it shit in, it'll give you shit out. And the second thing is that they don't realize that the new algorithms drop so quickly that if you try to do a picture on Midjourney 6 months ago and it looks shit, and you did it now, it probably looks brilliantly. And so you can't really have a strategy that is more than 6 months old when it comes to some of these platforms because they change so fast.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. And yeah, I'm one of those people like you're mentioning that like I don't really use AI. Like it's not on my phone. And I'm very old school. Like I'll write myself an email to remind myself to do something. I like this idea of manifesto that companies need to change the way they think about AI. And you were saying IT generally owns these things. So if it's not IT, I mean, who do we need like an AI department now that like literally is creating stances and manifestos for companies?
You know, I'm like you. I think that what AI can do well is that it can take people who really understands humans, and then it can help them execute better. And so I remember, I'm old enough to remember like when the internet came around, right? And I worked for MTV at the time, which most people don't even remember what is,
What?
but it was big at the time. And I had to write
I know
like
what MTV like, yeah, I mean, come
and
on.
I had to write like an email to the IT team, like justifying why I should have access to the internet, right? You know, like because that was not a
Wow.
default. Like, you know, it was expensive to have access to the internet, and so I think I think, and we then had like an internet team. The reality is that somebody like you, with all your expertise and everything, I don't think that somebody just because they know ChatGPT a little can do your job better just because they have ChatGPT. I'll give you an example. There's this beautiful video the other day that was on the internet of somebody who had made a Volvo ad in 48
Mhm,
hours using AI. And it was stunning. It was this car driving through this urban environment, and trees would kind of like start to grow as this car was
mhm,
driving over the streets. Now, if you looked in, and then the headline was very much, "Oh, this was made with AI for within 48 hours." Now, if you double clicked on who had made it, it turned out to be a photographer that has spent his whole career taking pictures of cars. And
mhm.
what people forgot to, I think, point out was that you can't write, make me a brilliant Volvo ad. What you have to do is to say, have the idea of what the Volvo ad should be. And then you had to prompt AI to say, I need a clip with a car driving in this urban environment and the trees. Like you had to describe it, right? You know, like what it is.
Yeah,
And
mhm,
so I think one of the reasons why I don't think we should have AI teams is that I think the problem that we need to solve are human problems. It is, you know, understanding customers better, and take and AI can help somebody like you do that better. I don't think the other way around. And so I think CEOs and senior managers should start to use it. I would recommend you to start to use it because I think you can add a lot of value to your work. Um, I think you will see chief AI officers and other of that kind in a period of time to help people in organizations kind of like get up to speed. But
mhm.
then I just think it'll be like computers are today, like nobody prints their emails anymore,
Yeah, no one prints their emails, that's for
except
sure.
like this is what you're going to say, like, I'm actually.
Yeah, no, I wish I had exciting enough email to wanna print it. Um, well, I mean, let's close with maybe a message about maybe a message to CEOs about the future of customer experience and getting to know your customers. I mean, obviously technology can help you do that. But I mean, when I think about you and I think about Bark and what you've done, like I think about the story of the pig where one of your customers was a pig and they got pork chewies in their box and they wrote your contact center and your contact center made sure never to send them a pork chewy ever again. And I don't remember what percent of your customers are getting personalized boxes, but it's very high. So, I mean, you lead differently, you think differently. What do today's CEOs need to think? How do they need to think differently to enter this new age of customer experience?
I think honestly, the that's a pretty big question because I think it might actually be quite a lot of different things. I'll give you kind of like my most extreme vision of kind of where I think it's going to go in the not too distant future. Now, I think that as we all start to get, you know, the new iPhone that has AI on it, we will get increasingly used to talking to our phone as being like having an agent that we talk to, right? So
Mhm.
when suddenly Siri and Google and these, kind of bots on our phones suddenly works, then I think we'll start to use that. Now, if that's true, then increasingly you can imagine that these bots will have to talk to companies because you'll ask it to book a restaurant for you or to find you a new microphone for your podcast or whatever it is, right? And so what I think you'll see is increasingly companies will start to have bots on their site that will kind of like do the receiving end of the communication. And so if you start to think of that, then it really evolves kind of what is your business. Like if it's no longer defined as a website or a store or an app, but it's basically defined as a problem that you're solving for a customer, then I think you have to rethink slightly like what is your company. And if suddenly you're servicing people through their agents, but they are also expecting you to serve them very fast in a very personal way, then you have to rethink kind of like how your business is structured. And so I think we might see a world that's going to change quite rapidly when some of these things kind of come online. And I think that companies that have a clear understanding of who they're serving and has a clear understanding what is the problem that they're trying to solve, and I think kind of obsess about those things will do well because the technology would really allow them to supercharge that. Um, I think people who hope that this will just go away, I think might get unpleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and what the world you describe is something I had another founder of an AI product describe it in a similar way. You're the only second person that's ever described this new like computers talking to computers type of world we're going to be living in. I think it's a lot for people to get their to wrap their mind around, but I'm really glad you brought it up.
Can I
Let's
can I add you one thing just because I
yeah.
think it really well, so one of the things I'm working on is this new platform called Autos, which is hoping to help people build startups, the startups that will be built on top of AI. And so we hope to build, let's say, 10,000 new companies over the next 24 months, right? Because we can use AI to do that. And one of the things that this system does now is that it builds these agents for founders that then can service customers at scale. And one of the things that these agents do now is that if it doesn't know how to build a piece of technology for the founder, the AI will go, hey, I don't know how to do this. And it will use the Upwork API to hire a human to do the work that the AI doesn't know how to do. And
Mhm.
suddenly you have this kind of mind-boggling universe where a founder asks a piece of technology, an AI agent, to build something. It try to build something and doesn't know how to do it. The AI then asks a human to do it for them and then takes the code and build it into the product that it's using to serve the founder. And
Mhm.
so, and this is stuff that is happening today, right? And so I think we're in for a wild ride, and I'm excited about it. And I think most people should. It could be quite fun to be a part of.
As long as we have thoughtful, good people, like as the puppet masters of this, like people that want to create an airline for dogs. But there are some people that I'm a little worried. Like, I don't know if you
But
should be.
that's why I think it's so important, like that somebody like you kind of get into it, because otherwise it'll be just the McKinsey consultants that'll be using AI to make the world more efficient, and we don't need that. We need people who have great ideas and have empathy and all these things to be using the technology, so that that part of the world is also represented. And so that's why I'm a little bit on a mission to try to evangelize that more people kind of help AI to become more human.
But just as a disclosure, if McKinsey wants to sponsor this podcast, I would welcome their dollars. And that was Henrik talking, not me. Let's get to know you and have a little fun, even though we've been having fun this whole time. Ready for some quick questions?
Absolutely.
All right. What's the most important part of your morning routine?
Uh, Not checking email until 10 a.m.
Wow. Okay. What do you do to relax at the end of a hectic day?
I read my book.
What show are you currently streaming?
I'm streaming the new Omnivore. the new show that the Danish chef Rene, who has Noma, has made.
I think my husband interviewed him if he's the #1 chef in the world.
It's incredible, that show. It's about all the ingredients that we consume every day. It's well done. It's on Apple TV.
What's your idea of perfect happiness?
I want to give that a short answer. I have a longer version. I have this 8+1 framework, which is my mental model for how I live my life in most optimal. And so my idea of happiness is to be pretty good at the 8 important things of my life.
Okay, I want to see that later. What is one mental health strategy for managing hard days?
Go to the gym.
What is your favorite type of vacation?
Skiing.
If you could have lunch with anyone dead or alive, who would it be?
Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, that's sad. If you had to describe your outlook in one quick motto, what would it be?
Do cool shit with people you like.
I thought it was going to be woof woof. Anyway, it's been so fun having you on the show. Where can people check out your new podcast?
My new podcast is on all the streaming platforms. It's called Beyond the Prompt, and it's about how to use AI efficiently in your organization.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing my show again. I hope you'll come back, and I'm going to put all the AI on my phone. So next time we talk, I'll just like optimize everything with AI.
I hope I'll see you on the AI in the AI world, and your dog on the airline.
Absolutely. Everybody, you've been tuning into the Modern Customer Podcast. Until next time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow me on social media, including Instagram, LinkedIn, X, and more.